how much to charge for drawing a map for someone. What a simple question that is, and yet how often I actually get asked it. And I thought, you know what, it's about time that I expressed my opinion on this subject for you, and hopefully a little bit of advice that you find to be useful. Because it doesn't really matter if we're talking about conventional art or a map in our instance. If you are approached by someone and they want you to draw a map for them, what's your quote? Now, first and foremost, I will say this. Don't work for free. Don't undervalue yourself. Let's just get that one out of the way right away. There can be times where both, I don't want to say are useful, but are prudent, depending upon your particular relationship with a would-be or repeat client. I have had clients where a project has gone bellied up or it's been abandoned, but I've got a history with them where I can say, you know, don't worry about the payment. But that's rare, and that's on me. But by and large, golden rule, let's establish this now. Let's just put a line in the sand. You are not working for free. Are we all in agreement on that? Okay. You're not working for exposure either. We've all seen the memes. No. Now, I've worked with some pretty big names in the tabletop RPG industry. Monty Cook, Kobold Press, Timothy Brown from Dragon Kings. They didn't expect me to work for nothing for exposure. And honestly, me drawing something for them didn't even necessarily give me exposure enough for the work that went into the map. But they didn't expect it. They didn't ask for it. Professionals would never ask you to do that. But if you're drawing for a friend and that friend expects you to do it for nothing, no. Friend says, I'll shout it out on social media. Honestly, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's like you can have 7,000, 10,000 followers on Facebook through a page. Post a picture, you'll get hundreds of likes, hundreds of people commenting. Fantastic. None of them are going to pay you for anything. So don't do it for the exposure either. I mean, we're in an era of, influencers. We're in an era of people on TikTok filming themselves and having huge followers, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people watching them, like applauding, commenting. That's fantastic. There's your exposure. Does it earn you anything? Not unless you're super big. No, it doesn't. So that's off the table too. That's done. I'm putting that in a bag and I'm throwing it to Cthulhu over there. Done. So how do you price things out? Well, let me tell you how I do it. And hopefully you find it useful. First and foremost, what are we drawing? How big is it? Let's start there. Am I doing a standard sort of 8.5 by 11 or 8.4 if you're over in England? Is that one we're dealing with? Am I doing a poster? Am I doing a quarter panel? Start there, because that's going to influence the volume of drawing you're doing, right? If you're doing character artwork, or you're doing a game token or a badge or just a headshot of something. In our world, in the world of maps, how big is the final print that you're going to be working with? That's going to dictate some things. Put that to one side. Put a little bullet point next to that, okay? I always ask that question, and I have a price point next to each one. Next question. Is it color or black and white? You've all seen my black and white work. Looks great. Took half the amount of time than my color work. If someone wants color, like the background here, that doubles the price. And I outright say that to my prospective clients, by the way. Is it black and white? Is it color? Color is going to increase costs. Be careful, though. Be careful. Black and white to a client may be actually a grayscale color. Well, at that first point, you've actually colored the map anyway. It's no difference in cost. Don't be careful of that much. A lot of the time nowadays, I just assume color. It's worth asking. In the same way, if you're doing character artwork, there's a ink sketch or a pencil sketch, and then there's a fully colored version, the finished version, shall we say. Big price point difference between the two. So I double it if someone is after color finish. Then I always ask, what is the detail? Now, for me, when I'm drawing maps, if let's say someone is after a city map, is it a village? Is it a town? Is it a city? Do you need like every little shingle on the rooftops to be showing? Do you want me to read a description of a book and have those descriptions echoed on the map? That will increase costs. Likewise, and this will come up even if you're doing regular artwork, I promise you. You'll get a client who will approach you, the project sounds fairly simple, and then they hand you a 200-page manuscript to add, and you've got to read that manuscript to understand what you're drawing. It happens. It might be a character background. Some people do that. Hey, here's my character described, 32 pages. And it's like, that's cool. If that's going to happen, you have to build that in. Your time is worth money. Now, I have projects such as Necropolis right now, where I'm reading a book or edits, and I am applying it to the map. That was built into the estimate to begin with, because I knew that's what we were going to be doing. If I don't estimate on that, and a client hands me a book, and it says all of the details of the city are herein, I've probably screwed myself out of 4, 5, 6+ hours of research and reading. So always get a sense of that. Get a sense of how much research you're going to have to do, or how much is going to be spoon-fed to you. Now you have the size, you have what you're drawing, you have the detail level of what you're drawing, you understand, like, am I stopping at a black and white or grayscale or color level? Now you should be able to form how much effort this is going to be for you. Now this may only come with time. And to begin with, you're going to screw it up. You're going to underestimate your hours. You're going to put 40 hours into a piece and you only charge them $40. I hope that doesn't happen to you. But as an extreme example, you've just given away your time for $1 an hour, okay? Now, the life of an artist, by and large, unless you're someone like Brom or Elmore, your time is probably not going to be worth per hour what these guys are getting. And that's okay. That's okay. But what are we left with here? If you think that something is going to take you about 10 hours to finish, that's your... And get good at estimating your time too, okay? Pay attention. Write down at the beginning how long you think this is going to take. It can even be a range. I think this is going to take me a day to 2 days, 8 to 16 hours. Write it down. At the end of the project, track how much time it actually took you, and use that to get better at estimating. At this point now, I will be honest with you, and I've been at this for over 10 years, I still screw up from time to time. I genuinely do. And I'll give you a prime example. The Blue Home map I did. It's a semi-isometric, elevated view, Lord of the Rings style, complete country. I call it a regional map. I got sucked into drawing details on there that I never planned on. And I probably put in easily 4 times the hours on that one than I were originally estimated for. That's on me. I stand by my estimates. But did I learn from it? Yes. So write down your estimate. Write down how long it actually took you when you're done. Pick up your payment, then calculate, did I take longer than expected on this? Use that to adjust for the next time. You've now got a size, you've got a subject matter, you've got a detail level. You should be able to start to put bullet point prices next to them. Let me give you an example. Alright, so a full page, for the sake of argument, full color. Let's just say you decide $400 is your price point for that. And you have calculated that that's about 20 hours of effort, 20 to 30. Well, that's not bad. What are you talking about, $15, $20 an hour or something like that? Not bad, if you stay within that threshold. If you find, though, that you're estimating out the type of things, like a full page, taking me about 40 hours or 20 hours to do, but it's actually taking you 40 hours, now you're getting $10 an hour. Not a kick in the teeth, but it's not as good, right? If that happens repeatedly, you're underestimating your time. Adjust. Charge more. You should be able to get to a point where you're $200 for a character sketch, $400 if you want it colored, $800 if I'm doing a group scene, $1,600 if it's poster size. You should be able to get that. All of my maps have about 4 price points, if I remember rightly. I basically have the simple black and white stuff, which I rarely do anymore, or small. I have my standard city map or map colored. I have my large, I could just call them large. We're talking posters. I have a price point for that. But I also know that they're going to take me about 80 plus hours to do. And then I have my supersize. And I literally call it that. And it's exceptional. And it's going to be a custom price point at this stage. But you're asking for 300 hours of work, you know. Special price. We'll work something out on that one. But that kind of, there's one every couple of years that comes up on that. But the point is, you should be able to get to a stage where you're estimating your time and you're refining it, and it should be a little bit of a range. And you should be able to put a dollar price point against that based upon the questions that you asked up front. Next, it's up to you if you ask for half up front or not, but do it. It's okay. I don't, by the way. A lot of the time I don't. But the point where I'm kind of breaking ground, a lot of clients prefer to pay half up front, which is totally chill with me. But I'm kind of at an established point of working with established people where I don't tend to get gypped out of payment. I'm not sort of too worried. Plus, I've got an established sort of business where if I draw you a map, you don't pay me for it, fine, I'm going to go off and sell it to someone else. So from that perspective, it's really half up front and half when you're done is kind of standard. And it's okay to do that. That way, if you're working with someone that you don't really know and they don't really want it in the end, at least you got something for your troubles, right? I won't talk about contracts yet, but I will come back to that. But what I will say is build in, at least in a written format, this is the price point. And it includes this process. This is my process. I'm going to draw a sketch and I'm going to show you. This will be your opportunity to revise. I will then iterate it over X amount of steps and I will show you each step of the way. And I will occasionally ask for your approval to proceed. This is locking down our shape. This is locking down the building sizes, etc. And before I go into coloring, I'm going to ask for your permission to proceed again. Once coloring starts, there can be no changes. Any changes beyond this point will be billed out at X amount per hour. Make that clear. I burned myself on a project where the client came back to me for changes. In fact, honestly, I did it all right. I was like, here are some swatches. Pick the colors and the map style that you want. You can mix and match. They did that. I came up with a master swatch. It's like, this is how I'm going to draw the map. This will be the style. This will how I will show elevations. I did the map. They were part of the process. They got to see it being developed. I finished it. I finished the coloring. And seriously, they decided they didn't like the elevation style. Now, we'll talk about client relations in another video. But I will say this. What went through my mind is not what came out my mouth. And I did the revisions, but I did not have built into the contract that they would be charged extra more, and I should have. I learned from that. Always learn from your mistakes. Same client came back for more revisions, then said, I'm going to pass this to an expert. That expert had more revisions. They passed it to another expert. They had more revisions. Honestly, I liked the guy, so I didn't want to create a bad relationship, but I screwed myself over on that one. And map was pretty good. I like it. It's an interesting map for me. But I should have had built in any changes, build X amount. And that would have kept them honest. And that's what you've got to do. You've got to keep your clients honest. And if they know they're going to have to pay you more, they might be less inclined just to let it slip until the very end and then ask for changes, right? They're going to be a little bit more inclined to get it right. And then, honestly, if they do come back with changes and you've got it built in, you've got this understanding between you, and they're paying you for the changes, fine, whatever. As long as it's not disrupting your general schedule, have that built in. This is how I'm going to proceed. This is when I'm going to ask you for permission to go into the next stage. This is the point where there's no changes. This is a point where I'm going to start charging you for those changes. And it's okay to build in some revisions here and there, but say how many. You can have minor modifications, no more than X amount of hours. Or I am willing to, present 3 different sketches to you, 6 different sketches. You can pick one. Have that type of language built in there, even if it's just an email exchange. It's an understanding between the two of you about how this project will commence. Hopefully, if you've got something like that in place, there's going to be a little bit less inclination for A, you put in way more hours than you're charging for, and B, client won't be coming back with sucking up more of your time for free. I've done it. And maybe that's a good subject for a future video. Ways I've screwed up and what you can do to avoid the same traps. So hopefully you found that this video has been useful to you. Hopefully to sow some seeds in your head for how to approach pricing of your own artwork in the future. If you've got any questions, observations, or even your own hints and tips, let me know down in the comments below. And if you've enjoyed this video, please consider hitting me up with a like, hit me up with a subscribe, and if you want to know more about me and my mapping endeavors, follow me on Patreon. Go take a look. I'd love to see you over there. So with that said, I love you all. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you on the flip side.